All right, today we're stepping into the darkness and breaking down a tabletop RPG that swaps out swords and sorcery for pure psychological dread. This is Horror Quest. This quote from the game's introduction, it tells you everything you need to know right from the get-go. This isn't about fighting some big, scaly beast. It's about fighting yourself. It's all about that internal struggle. I mean, think about most RPGs, right? You're a hero, you get stronger, you find epic gear, you save the kingdom. It's a power fantasy. Well, HorrorQuest looks at that whole idea and just throws it out the window. It's built on a much, much creepier foundation. So here's the deal. Your goal isn't to kill the monster. It's to figure it out. You have to solve the mystery behind whatever is happening, because trying to punch your way through this is only going to get you one thing: a one-way ticket to losing your mind. Okay, so how do you even begin to face that kind of darkness? Well, it all starts with making your character, or maybe a better word for it would be your survivor. Making a character is actually super simple. It's just these 4 steps. And the whole point is to quickly create someone who feels, well, real. Just a normal, flawed person who has absolutely no idea what they're about to walk into. To show you how all this works, let's just make a character together. We'll call him Elias, and his background is a journalist. That one choice is going to tell us what he's good at and, more importantly, what he's really bad at. And that brings us to the core mechanic of the game. Forget about a long list of stats. It all boils down to 2 things: advantage and disadvantage. Since Elias is a journalist, he's great at things like research and interviews. So for those checks, he gets to roll 2 20-sided dice and take the higher number. Pretty good, right? But he's not an athlete. So if he has to do something physical, he has disadvantage. He still rolls 2 dice, but he's forced to take the lower one. Ouch. Next up is the quirk, which adds a little random flavor to your character. So Elias rolls a die, and he's a skeptic. Now, how perfect is that for a horror story? He's a journalist sent to investigate something supernatural, but his gut instinct is to find a perfectly logical explanation for everything. That is just fantastic for building tension. Okay, and this last step is what makes the game get under your skin. The player, that's you, chooses a phobia for their character, a specific, real-world fear that the game master is absolutely going to use against you. For Elias, we'll pick agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces. Keep that one in mind. It's about to get very, very important. So we have our guy, Elias. Now, let's throw him into a situation and see how all these mechanics actually work when things inevitably start to go wrong. The main trigger for terror in Horror Quest is this thing called the unnatural mist. And believe me, this is not just fog. The game literally calls it a thin veil between worlds, which is your big sign that the rules of reality are about to go on vacation. And right on cue, as Elias starts to investigate, the mist rolls in. And this is where it gets really clever. The mist isn't just spooky atmosphere. It actively triggers a character's personal phobia. So Elias now has to make a fear check to resist it. But what happens if he can't? So a fear check is basically your role to not completely lose it. The difficulty, the DC you have to beat, is set by how terrifying the thing is. A creepy whisper might be a DC 11, while, I don't know, Cthulhu showing up would be like a DC 20. This mist is a solid DC 15 threat. And Elias fails. He rolls a 12. So remember his agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces? Well, for him, and only him, the small clearing he's standing in suddenly warps and stretches into this huge, horrifyingly empty void. The trees are suddenly miles away. The horror is now tailor-made just for him. Now, feeling that check isn't just for story. It has a real mechanical cost. And that brings us to the absolute heart of this game, the fear and insanity system. For failing that check, Elias gets 1 fear point. You can think of this like a jolt of panic and stress. It's the immediate, temporary shock of what he just saw. 1 fear point might not sound like a big deal, but these things stack up. Another scare, another failed check, another creepy discovery, they add up. And once you finally hit the breaking point of 5, they all convert into 1 insanity point. Now, this isn't just stress anymore. This is a permanent psychological scar. A little piece of your character's mind has just fractured. Your fear points reset to 0, and the whole terrifying cycle is ready to start all over again.
And getting an insanity point has some serious consequences. Your character could suddenly develop a brand new phobia. Your existing fears might get even worse. And every single point you get brings you one step closer to the final awful conclusion.
And here it is. This is the end of the line. When a character gets 5 insanity points, they're lost. But they don't just die. No, the game has this table of horrifying fates. Your character might end up as a sacrifice or a host for something else. They could even become the next monster for a new group of players to investigate. Your failure literally becomes part of the world building. So if you can't fight your way out and your own mind is a ticking time bomb, how in the world do you actually win? Let's talk about the philosophy of survival in HorrorQuest. This really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? In most RPGs, you worry about hit points. You kill monsters, you get loot. In HorrorQuest, there are no hit points. You survive by escaping threats. And the only thing you gain is fear. The entire game is about survival, not conquest. And that is the final piece of the puzzle. You survive by being clever. You find clues, you talk to people, you piece together the mystery. The solution is never a sword, it's knowledge. You have to discover the creature's weakness, its history, or maybe a ritual that can finally put it to rest. Which brings us right back to that core question. HorrorQuest has built a system where the monster you're facing on the outside is just a mirror for the one on the inside. Survival isn't about having the sharpest weapon, it's about having the strongest will. And it really makes you wonder, how long could any of us last?